You're exactly right. In fact, this is a decision that's been months in the making at this point, putting together this argument. And because of a meeting taking place right behind me today, we should get some answers. A debate over the most cherished sacrament in the Catholic Church is raising significant concerns for some U.S. politicians. The Conference of Bishops is meeting to discuss if pro-choice and pro-LGBTQ politicians should be eligible to receive the Holy Communion. This includes Joe Biden, the second Catholic to serve as U.S. president, who holds views that some bishops say is contrary to Catholic doctrine. This is a position the White House doesn't try to hide, such as its decision to rebuke the Vatican back in March, when it reiterated its stance that it would not support same-sex marriages.
The president's a devout Catholic. Does he have a personal response to that?
I don't think he has a personal response to the Vatican, no. He continues to believe and support same-sex unions, as you know, and he's long had that position.
Despite the clear deviation from Catholic teaching on certain issues, there are concerns about the precedent such a decision could set. Critics of the latest scrutiny regarding communion say it could open the door for Catholic doctrine to be weaponized for political means. But proponents of the move say some politicians' views stray so far from the church on key issues, such as abortion, that action is necessary. This is another policy disagreement that the White House is rather open about.
The leaders of the president's own faith said in reaction, "It is deeply offensive, quote, to millions of Americans for our tax dollars to be used for research that collaborates with an industry built on the taking of innocent lives." How does the White House respond to that criticism?
The White House respectfully disagrees.
As it stands, a 2004 conference concluded the decision would be left up to individual bishops as to whether they wanted to deliver the sacrament. This latest meeting asks the church to commission a document on the topic of communion, which would then be reviewed at the fall meeting. It's at that point where a decision could become final. And it is worth noting that Pope Francis himself has not taken a position on this issue. However, there are other people around the Vatican, in fact, even some bishops who are saying that they don't even want this to get brought up because a decision either condemning those actions or not taking action one way or the other could still be seen as a political move. Rachel?
All right, Alex Alvey reporting for us there. Thank you so much, Alex. All right, let's continue this discussion and bring in Father Leo Patalinghug. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Now, Father Leo, the Vatican is saying that we should pump the brakes in the push to deny communion to politicians that support abortion rights. Where do you stand on this issue?
Well, I stand always with the Catholic Church, and the teachings are 100% clear that if anyone is committed any grave or mortal sin or supporting things that are contrary to the Catholic faith, they, by their own formed consciences, should not present themselves to receive Holy Communion. As Pope Francis said, that it's not the meal for the saints, but it's bread for sinners. But it's for sinners who want to become saints, who are repentant for their sins. And supporting abortion, taking the life of the most innocent among us, is certainly grave and immoral.
Now, despite that public statement by the Vatican, the bishops are still expected to hold a remote meeting that starts today. Your thoughts on that approach?
Well, it's good that the bishops actually are coming together and discussing something that has been unfortunately politicized. It's interesting that it seems that politics and politicians are trying to dictate what Catholics can believe and what we have taught for thousands of years. And so it's a strange thing that the church has to weigh in on something that has always been reserved for its own judgment, namely moral issues, but everyone else has made it political, unfortunately.
Well, on the topic of that, Father, some are now saying that the Eucharist is being used as a political weapon. Do you think there's truth to that?
Well, it is a weapon, but it's a weapon against evil. And unfortunately, when people use it to promote other forms of evil, such as supporting abortion, and again, this is no judgment on anyone who's had it. We always, as a Catholic Church, has provided pastoral care, love, and forgiveness. But when we almost seem to have a culture of death that celebrates the taking the life of an innocent unborn, then we have to let people know that life is sacred, life is dignified, and we must protect it.
Father Leo, do you think that the U.S. bishops that this will increase division by not allowing the president to receive communion?
If division continues to increase, it's not because of God, it's because of sinfulness, and it's because of, obviously, the devil, who loves to divide what Christ tried to unite. And in this case, I think every bishop knows that abortion is evil and it's wrong. the pastoral care for people who support abortion so enthusiastically as, for example, our own president. That's something that we have to take into consideration. So it's not a debate on the moral issues. It's a debate on the pastoral issues. How do we provide care, which sometimes includes discipline of those people who claim to be Catholic in public situations, who come across as wanting to receive communion because they believe in their own conscience it's an okay thing to do. Unfortunately, that would be a little relativistic.
All right, Father Leo Patalinghug, thank you as always for joining us and offering your insight this morning.
My pleasure.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.